Hi guys, Mr. Hill here with your history lesson for today. So we're going to have a go at building our own longship and understanding some of its features. Now, don't worry, we're not expecting you to go and cut down trees and cut them to the right thickness and nail them together and stop seal all the joints and stitch your own sail and flags and carve your own figurehead and oars. We're not expecting you to do that. We're going to use some household objects to make our boat. So please don't worry, you're not going to need lots of complicated equipment to do this. Before we move on, I set you a challenge at the end of our last lesson. I gave you 6 artifacts that I wanted you to go off and find out what they were. Now, I've had a look on Tapestry. I've seen quite a few of you got some of the answers right, and there was one of them that a lot of people were tripped up on and they didn't work out what it was. So number 1 over in the corner is their wooden bowls used for eating. Number 2, now I haven't seen any right answers yet on Tapestry. So this one was a wooden board game with walrus ivory pieces. Now, I'd love to know how this game was played. Unfortunately, I think the rules have been lost in the mists of time. Number 3, now there's coins here, but there's also a stamp or a die used for making the coin. So at the back here, just under where the number 3 is, it's got 2 parts to it. So if you think of a coin, it's got a head and a tail. It's got 2 sides to it. This is exactly the same thing. So they'd have put the piece of silver between the 2 dies and whacked it as hard as they could with a hammer, and that would have left an impression on the silver of the coin. Number 4, most of you got that one. They're shoes made from leather. Number 5 is a comb made from antler, so for combing their long, luxurious hair. And number 6, some of you, actually no, I think one of you I've seen the correct answer on. So well done. It's actually a lock and a key made of iron. So a Viking longship, as the name suggests, was long. It was also sleek and fast. It was designed to travel up narrow rivers, raiding villages and quickly getting away back to the open sea. So if you remember, the word Viking comes from the Old Norse for going pirating or a pirate raid. They're built in different sizes. They could carry up to 120 warriors. So you could be walking down alongside the River Thames and suddenly this boat comes up with 120 crazy, wild looking Vikings looking for something to go and rob. Quite a scary sight. So at the prow was a carving, sometimes it was referred to as a figurehead, and it represented the spirit of the boat, and there was quite often an animal base, so they got the idea of dragons and eagles. It was designed to scare the spirit of the land where they were about to raid. So it was all designed for intimidation. So if you're looking out to sea, what's that out there? You see the head of a dragon coming through the mist. You're going to start feeling quite worried. It'll scare the people that live there as well as the spirit of the land. So figurehead would often be removed if they were approaching as friends. So the figurehead was a signal of war almost, or of the intent to rob. So if you think about the modern day equivalent would be the pirate flag, the skull and crossbones, that we all know that if there's pirates raids going on, they'll have the skull and crossbones flying. So similar thing with the figurehead. So often at sea for days and weeks at a time, the Vikings would need somewhere to sleep. They'd lower the sail and create a tent, settle down in a sealskin sleeping bag, which would keep them warm and dry. So this is an example of what they would have looked like. So they've got the nice fluffy warm bits on the outside. So linking this to science, we've got the insulation properties or the insulative properties of the sealskin. It's also water resistant, so it keeps you dry. So even if the wave comes over the boat, gets water soaked through the sail, this sealskin sleeping bag is going to keep most of you dry. And when you're at sea, that's really important, because when you get wet, you also get cold a lot more quickly. And if you think they're coming through the North Sea, so they're quite far up the country, and it would have been cold and dangerous sailing across there. So these sleeping bags would probably have been absolute lifesavers at times during heavy storms. So from our work on archaeology, we know that some materials don't survive being buried for hundreds of years. So we can't be sure what the boat's sails were made of. A tightly woven wool fabric is the expert's best guess. So some of archaeology, you have to fill in some of the gaps. You can't be entirely certain of what was there. So to navigate, we'd get our phone out, we'd use our Google Maps, and it would tell us where we're going. Or if you're out on sea, on this ocean, you'd have a GPS, a global positioning satellite, which would help you plot your course. This didn't exist in the day of the Vikings. So to navigate, they used the sun and the stars, but very often they took directions from someone who'd been there before. So if this person maybe got the route slightly wrong, there's a good chance they'd end up missing where they were intending to land and ending up somewhere entirely different. So if you think of a travel guide, if you've ever been into London and you see guided tours taking place, the people that are following the guide don't know where they're going. The guide does because they've done it before. So it's a bit like having a map and following it. So our task for today, we're going to build a model of a Viking longship. So I did say you're not going to need to go off to Black Park and cut down trees and cut them to the right thickness and the right length and carve your own figurehead. None of that. We found a nice, easy way for you to make your own model longship. So a set of instructions are going to follow. Please feel free to adjust your design to match the resources that you have available. So you might need to change the length of your boat or the height of your boat, just in case. If you do, that's absolutely fine. So what we're going to show you is a rough guide, some rough measurements that you could use to make your boat. So from card, cut the base and sides of your boat. So the piece at the top with the two triangles, that's your base. And then you've got your sides. So you've got your measurements there. You might need to adjust these slightly. So if your piece of card's not quite big enough, don't worry, adjust the sizes so that it works with what you've got. So fold the sides along the dotted line and then use the tape to stick the sides and the base together. So if I just go back to our pattern, you can see the dotted lines. Let me just get my highlighter pointer out here. That's where you're going to fold. So they'll match up with your corners here and here. So when you fold it, it's going to sit along this edge here. See, and then that's it, following the base along, and then that's where it's been folded and then taped all the way around. So using some tape, so whether it's sellotape, gaffer tape, masking tape, stick the sides and the base together. Design your prow figure. So make two of them. They should be the same height as the base. So the very bottom here, the base there should be the same height as the sides of your boat. So it looks like it comes out as it's part of the boat. So you'll need two of those because you're going to need to stick them together and have one from each side. You'll need some bench seats. So these will just be little strips of cardboard, just wider than the width of your boat. And then you can fold down the ends and you can glue those in. Those will help strengthen the shape of your boat. Create a sail for your longship. So maybe some paper, you could draw a design on it. I know there's some of the images I've seen, the Vikings had some quite amazing designs on their sails. So you could use that idea. And then what you need is a skewer, a straw, or something similar to go through the top and the bottom of your sail. So it's going to go like this. You could just tape it on. That would also work. If you're using a skewer, please be careful of the sharp pointy end. We don't want you sending in pictures on tapestry of the sail sticking out of the back of your hand. It's not supposed to do that. It's supposed to be sticking out of your boat. So be careful with what you're using. So once you've fixed the skewer to the sail, you'll need to fix it into your boat. So one of the bench seats would be a good place to do this, and then take it down into the base of your boat as well, so it's fixed in two places. I'd suggest you wrap some tape on it as well to really hold it in place. If you've got some super glue or a hot glue gun, this will work brilliantly for this step. Don't worry if you haven't, sellotape will do just as well. Finally, some finishing touches. We can make some oars. So if you've got skewers, you can cut them down to size, make some paddles to go on there. You can make some shields to decorate the side of the boat. So if we go back to our first image, 1 second. So this image here, we can see you've got the shields all hung over the side of the boat. They do two things while they're there, to be honest. They protect the sailors in the boat, and they also mean they don't take up lots of space. So have a look and think about the designs you might want to use for your shields. Your final step, you're going to decorate the prow. So this figure here. So you're going to think like a Viking. What are you going to have? Are you going to have a soaring eagle? Are you going to have a dragon of some description? Might be worth having a look, see if some of the ideas that have been found on old boats. And once you've done that, I'd like you to take a photograph, put it up on tapestry, and let us all have a look. So, as the Seven Dwarves are saying here, now we can go a Viking. We have a Viking longboat. We can go on our pirate raids. Good luck. I look forward to seeing your work on tapestry. Take care and stay safe.